Welcome to Evergreen Speedway's Home Track Heroes on Seattle 11.
Welcome to Home Track Heroes here on Seattle 11, presented by our friends at Gene Johnson Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I'm Derek Todoff. With me tonight is Chad Fitzpatrick, and we are excited to welcome you to show number 1 for the Tire Pros Summer Showdown, presented by our friends at Central Welding Supply. Got a good set of races on deck. How are you feeling, Chad?
Feeling good. Kind of a different perspective. Normally I'm a part of the show, but obviously this year destroyed my car, so I'm up here instead.
Yeah, it was a tough break. Sad to see you not out there, but happy to have you here in the booth to offer a much different side of things from the driver's perspective instead of the announcers here.
Yeah, I'll definitely be a lot cheaper sitting up here tonight.
That I'm sure of. Now we have Pro Lates on the docket at the end of the night, 100 lapper, as well as Legends Street Stocks with 2 super late model heat races, which we will get into here in just a moment. As stacked field coming from across the state and the West as a whole. We start with the Gene Johnson Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical number 65 on the front row out of Mooresville, North Carolina. That's Tyler Tanner. Next to him in the number 27, sponsored by Apache Rental Group out of Lake Oswego, Oregon, that is Cole Raz.
Second row inside, the 55 Hayden Plybon out of Spokane, sponsored by Cascade Rain Gutters, and the 10 of Owen Riddle out of Natchez, sponsored by Don Rule Excavating.
The Tire Pros 64 out of East Wenatchee, that's Jan Evans. Next to him in the Zachary Jenkinson at EXP Realty number 17 out of Tacoma, that's Max Schroeder.
And Cody Vanderwall in the 43 made the long haul from Evans, Colorado, sponsored by Advanced Dairy Service, and the 89, Donnie Wanted out of Woodinville, sponsored by Pathfinder Chassis.
Rounding out your field, the Dominic car in our Pro Late division, sponsored by Edwards Construction, hailing from Lake Stevens, Wyatt Gardner at the tail of this field. 9 cars take to the 5/8 oval. Chad, what is this track like compared to our 3/8?
For one, the speed, a lot faster. However, this track, even though it's a lot older, it does seem to be a little bit smoother than our 3/8. You do want to be very careful on this track, though, because this is essentially a cheese grater of a track. 61-year-old pavement versus 5-year-old pavement. You got to be careful here. As they come off of turn number 4, they're going to lead the field. That is Tyler Tanner with the first lap going into turn number 1 here.
Green flag will wave as they come off of 4 here, heading into turn number 1. Your top 4 have all won on this track before. Tanner going to jump to the early lead. You see Plybon fight to the inside, not able to make anything stick against the 27 of Cole Raz. Well, there's a battle between Schroeder and Evans back for 5th.
And you want to be careful in this race because it's all for positioning for tomorrow's races. So as of right now, Tyler Tanner will be on the front row. I believe this is the even heat race. And then the second heat race will be the odd heat race, or it might be vice versa. So you are racing for position.
I do believe this is the odd heat race. Tyler Tanner, our fast qualifier. Cole Raz actually tied to the thousandth of a second with Derek Thorne for the second place qualifying spot. Rules state that the car that set the time first earns the position, and that's what has put Raz in this odd heat race.
So it's an even breakaway first through, actually probably the first through 8th place right now. You got to save your equipment because this is a 20-lap heat race, and you're going to have to start on the same set of tires for the same main event tomorrow night.
Yeah, and if any of these drivers were to head to the pit area, they would have to put the same number of laps down on these tires, even if they did not complete the race, as to give everyone an even playing field, and so we don't have any funny business, so to speak.
The officials will, hopefully right now we don't have to have that happen, but the officials will watch your times too to make sure you're not just out there running slow lap times as well.
Exactly. As Tanner continuing the lead in the number 65, winner of one of our Twin 70s for the Mark Galloway shootouts. Chasing him down is last year's Summer Showdown winner Cole Raz, while the number 55 continuing to hold off the number 10 Plybon won the other of our Twin 70s, and Owen Riddle, the 2021 winner of the Summer Showdown.
A lot of accomplishments in this heat race alone. I mean, you got Fall Classic wins, you got a bunch of Pro Late Model wins, Mark Galloway wins, Summer Showdown wins. It's a very stacked field here for the first of 2 heat races.
Yeah, and a couple of drivers with ARCA West Series starts as well, including Cody Vanderwall in the number 43. He's got 2 wins to his name.
Really? Wow.
When he raced in the ARCA West Series. Made a comment, we talked to him back on Media Day, on just how cool this track is and how entertaining he finds it. He also seems to enjoy a much looser surface, which kind of brings us to another subject. A brand new tire being used. You see Riddle getting to the back of Plybon on this weekend, as the super late models will run a slick tire. They're switching to the Hoosier ST1, which is this brand new universal slick tire across the United States that Hoosiers rolled out this year.
I've talked to a few drivers over the weekend, and they actually like the tire. It's a little bit slower on top end speed, but it lasts a lot longer, and you don't have that runoff like this track that they're running on right now. You can get a really good lap time, and 5 laps later, you're about 3, maybe half a second slower because of how bad the runoff is. This tire's not doing that, and that's making for really good racing and long runs.
Yeah, a harder, more durable tire can really benefit some of these drivers. I know strategy was a big thing that they were talking about early on. See Riddle looking low. Some of these drivers, like you said, are going to take it easy, taper it off, keep these tires at 100% so they're ready to go later on. Some of them, as it appears Owen Riddle is doing, are going to push it. They're going to try and make a move, grab some spots, as this determines the inside row. Every pass you make is 2 starting positions you gain.
Yeah, so if Owen Riddle will get by, if he gets by the 55 apply button, I believe that would put him 5th as of right now. So that's, I mean, one position is 1 row ahead or 1 row back. So, you know, this is a pretty stacked field. Any position will help you big time, as we got another good battle for 5th, and that's between the 17 of Max Schroeder and the 64 of Jan Evans.
Yeah, Evans in that number 64 car, same one that won the Leonard Evans Memorial 150 at Wenatchee earlier on in the year. Max Schroeder in a new car that they also debuted at Wenatchee earlier this season. Now Schroeder trying to find some success. He's been very consistent when it comes to his results here at Evergreen Speedway, but has never really had that final finishing prowess that these drivers we're seeing up front right now have.
Yeah, Max Schroeder, I believe the last couple of showdowns have finished in the top 10. He's just kind of there, but I know he wants more speed. Every racer does.
Yeah, notably, just jumping to talk a little bit about that number 10. Owen Riddle, already a very successful driver here at Evergreen Speedway across the West as well, including Montana 200 wins, Apple Cup wins, of course, that summer showdown, and a Mark Galloway win as well. Riddle is backed up by 2 very good drivers in their own right. Taylor Riddle back there, his brother, driver the number 15, a driver who's only finished outside of the top 10 in the summer showdown once over the course of his career. And Preston Peltier, the multi-time winner of this event, the only multi-time winner of the super late model side of things, both helping out with that number 10, so expect a lot of speed once we get to the race day for that 10 car.
That is definitely 2 racers you want in your corner helping you.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it looks like a top 4 breakaway. The top 4 broke away from the rest of the field. They're slowly starting to get even closer, but the laps are starting to wind down as we got 6 laps to go this time by, with Tyler Tanner leading the train and Owen Riddle in the back.
Now you see that order staying fairly similar, but we're going to jump back to 5th. Evans looking on the inside of Schroeder, not going to find anything that time. And Schroeder getting a big run off of turn number 2. We've talked multiple times on this show about how where you travel the corner affects significantly how much speed you carry on the exit. You can try and play the game, make a move to the low side when you're in 1 and 2, but you're going to sacrifice that backstretch run you'll get from the high.
Yeah, this track is probably one of the biggest race tracks a lot of these racers will ever race in their career. So this track is all momentum. You got long straightaways, long swooping corners, and if you can get the car to go up a little bit higher, you'll get a really, really good run coming off the corner instead of if you're trying to pass someone on the inside. And you just saw that a couple laps ago with Max Schroeder in the 64 of Evans.
And see the battle continuing here. 10 car still chasing the 55, trying to find a way that would start 5th, as you mentioned earlier, instead of the 7th place spot. Never know how much one position can mean. Historically speaking, the Summer Showdown can be a fairly calm race, or it can be a very volatile one. You might have saw our Throwback Thursday post last week now. We talked about the first ever Summer Showdown and the more chaotic event that one was.
The 2 hours to get to 3 laps, yes. So that was the very, very, probably the most chaotic Summer Showdown we've ever had at this point.
I know that none of these drivers would like a repeat of that one.
No, we don't need to see a repeat. These race cars from 2012 to now have gotten even more expensive, so we don't need to see that at all. With the lap and a half to go for Tyler Tanner, we'll see if he can hang on to keep that pole starting position.
You know he would like to as he makes his way out of turn number 4. The homecoming king takes the white flag, originally from Auburn, moved out east to pursue other opportunities there in the land of asphalt ovals. He will continue to lead Cole Raz down the backstretch.
as Tyler Tanner will take it in turn 3. Kind of a familiar sight to him. He's won quite a few races on this racetrack, but he is going to keep that starting pole position. Off turn number 4, give it to Tyler Tanner, followed by the 27 of Cole Raz, the 55 of Plybon, and the 10 of Riddle, and that's going to be a close one, and Evans will get by the 17 of Schroeder.
That was a great race there. I, for one, hope that whet your appetite for late model racing. Still a lot more of that to come. 2 more races in this show, plus next week's show. We'll have the 200 lapper here at the Summer Showdown. Lots of amazing action still to come. This one begins on the inside row number 1 out of Bakersfield, California, sponsored by Power Grade Incorporated. That is Derek Thorne, legend of U.S. Racing. On his outside, the legend of Washington Racing out of Linwood, sponsored by J&R Truck Rentals. The 00 is Nema Lang.
The 1 car of Casey Klein out of Quincy, sponsored by Thamart Farms, and the 4 Dylan Lupton out of Elk Grove, California, sponsored by Lupton Excavation, Inc.
The Precision Aviation 22G out of Twin Falls, Idaho is Jonathan Gomez. We'll come back to him and talk a little bit about that car in a moment. But the DRS Trucking 69 starts to his outside out of Eatonville. That's Xander Peters.
The Wenatchee 200 winner, the 42 Evan Getz out of Okanagan, sponsored by Alan Gann, and the 7D of Dawson Cox, the recent Figure 8 Nationals winner out of Arlington, sponsored by Busch Light.
The Hacienda Pools number 52 out of Tracy, California's Ryan Philpott. And the McMullen Construction number 2, brand new car for this driver out of Tacoma, another legend of Evergreen Speedway, John Zaretsky. Running his father's number and his father's font on the side of that brand new super late model, but it will be Thorne and Lang lead them out of turn number 4, exiting off the corner, looking to the flag stand. They will see the green flag. Thorne and Lang into turn number 1.
Dead even as they go into turn number 1. Lang trying to get a good run off of turn number 2 down the back straight. We'll see if that motor can keep up, but a very, very good run on the inside for the 8 of Derek Thorne. Dylan Lupton will sit in 4th, and then the number 1 of Casey Klein in 5th. They're still trying to decide who's going to run in 5th between the 69 of Peters and the 22 of Gomez.
Gomez here on the low side, trying to find something to work with in that 22G. Now, he was the fastest in Thursday practice and in both pro late models and super late models. Unfortunately, cut a right front tire, went up into the turn 1 wall. That ended his run, but it did not end his showdown, as he worked with a bunch of the teams in the pits, put that car back together, and they have been able to make it out here. He put down a qualifying lap. As you can tell, being in the even heat, he was 10th quick in that 22G. Look to see if they can find the rhythm of that car once again, because Gomez could be a serious underdog.
I think he has a very good contention to win this thing. We'll see next week, but the 00 of Nema Lang and the 4 Dylan Lupton. Lupton looking to the inside of Lang. Wow. It's been years since Lane Sunholmes ran 00. Can't get out of my head, but the 22 of Gomez looking to the 69 of Peters.
Gomez looking low again. You see that at the back of your shot, but we focus on Lupton working against the 00. Nema and Dylan in maybe you're just thinking of it's not the blue and orange that you remember Nema in. That was his scheme for a very long time.
Yes, very, very long time. And this is a battle I believe would be for the 4th position for tomorrow night's race, as the 8 of Derek Thorne, who I believe came off of a Snowball Derby win. I'm not 100% sure.
He was your 2022 Snowball Derby winner.
2022, okay.
It was also the last year he was up here at Evergreen Speedway, as Thorne spent a lot of last year trying to get a car together, as his old race team, Campbell's Racing, unfortunately shuttered, and went on to pursue new things, new opportunities. But that has resulted in him kind of spreading his wings, flying on his own. Saw DTR on the hood as well. We're going to jump back. Here comes Jonathan Gomez on the inside of Casey Klein, side by side for 4th.
Very impressive. Oh, a little contact going into turn number 3, and Gomez still loose, hangs on to it. Very, very good driving by both of them. That could have been very, very disastrous as well, and that puts Gomez, I believe, into 4th, as Klein still trying to chase down the 22 of Gomez. A good pack of cars between Gomez and then the 42 of Evan Getz right there as they come off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway.
John Zaretsky you saw pulling there into the infield. It's a little bit of history in the past between Gomez and Klein. Both drivers, I believe, have moved on from the incident that took place last year, but nonetheless, I'm sure a little piece of their brains in that little second of contact to jump back to that moment.
Well, driver never forgets who wronged you. Trust me, I don't ever forget. So I know the other drivers don't as well. As it is back up front, the 8 of Thorne, the 00 of Naima Lang, and the 4 of Dylan Lupton, all three together and made themselves a good pack between the rest of the cars here. As fourth will be the 22 of Gomez and the 5th of Casey Klein.
Yeah, Thorne, as we were talking about DTR on the hood, that is Derek Thorne Racing. He's making his own team now, working on his own. I know that this year's been a much more limited schedule, but I've heard rumors of a planned bigger one, go all out for next season. So wishing him luck driving that number 8 or whatever number he ends up with.
Yeah, can't wait to see what will happen in his endeavor. Sometimes things happen for a reason, and so far it's working out great for him. And good, clean battle through, I believe that's the 6th through 9th position, and the 42 of Getz trying to get around the 70 of Dawson Cox. Dawson pretty much, this is the only track he hasn't won on. We'll see if maybe he can break that record here tonight.
Yeah, the former Hornet champion has won on, to my knowledge, almost every single road course they've ever ran there. Figure 8 Nationals winner obviously has a figure 8 win, 3/8 winner on our oval. So tackling the 5/8 in that 7D, see trying to work against the 69 is Andrew Peters. All while one of the hottest drivers in the Northwest right now, Evan Getz, is in pursuit.
Getz trying to find a way to get around him. This, I believe, is only his second or third time he's ran on the 5/8. The second time he's ran on the 5/8. So this is quite a big jump. He's normally racing on tracks that are quarter miles on the east side of the mountains. So when you add a lot more speed to this, it's definitely a little bit interesting the first couple times you race on this racetrack.
He was almost up into the wall that time. This is a hard track, as you mentioned. Getting to talk to some of the drivers, it's one of the reasons they love it so much. It's a big track, it's a flat track, so it combines both of those challenges you're not necessarily used to. Many of the tracks in the Northwest and the West Coast as a whole are more banked and or much shorter compared to this 5/8 flat oval.
Yeah, you got to be really careful on this track, and this looks like the 69 and the 7 might have made a little contact going through 3 and 4. But back to my point, you got to be really careful on this racetrack. Those concrete walls come up fast. You're going well over 120 miles an hour at your fastest going into turn 1. And you got to give every racer a little more give and take, and a little more give than take on this racetrack than like what you would on the 3/8.
We crossed the line with 5 to go for Derek Thorne. Like you were saying, Chad, no one wants to end up in that turn 1 wall. It's a hard hit, no matter what angle you take it at. I'm sure Jonathan Gomez and unfortunately yourself can attest to that.
Oh yeah. I've seen many cars get destroyed on this track, and unfortunately it's sometimes just a part of the game, as this has still been a good battle between all 15 laps of this race. I'm sure the one who really wants it in is the 69 of Peters. He's been in defense mode the whole time as they come off of 4 with 4 laps to go.
No two slouches there running behind him. You got Dawson, who, as we mentioned, hasn't won here on the 5/8 before, but everywhere else. Behind him, you've got Evan Getz, the Wenatchee 200 winner. Driver who's shown a lot of promise this season. Has struggled a little bit more today, like you were mentioning, but that can be excused with that inexperience. The more laps he turns in that car, expect him to become more and more of a threat.
Yeah, with this racetrack, you just need to get more laps. I mean, the more laps you can get on this track, you can drive. There's thousands of different lines you can drive on this racetrack. It's amazing. I've done it many times, just trying different ways to get around the racetrack. There's a whole bunch of bumps on this racetrack, especially in the middle of the corners, and you'll see that more tomorrow night and even tonight with the Pro Late models. When someone tries to get underneath someone and you see the sparks flying, it's a lot of strategy to try to pass someone on this racetrack.
See Lupton trying to close in on Naima Lang. He knows that time is running out. Same for Getz and for Cox. Cox trying to look high on Peters, gets the door shut. Here comes Getz to his inside.
Getz will look going into turn number 3. He'll send it in there, but Dawson Cox has a way better run off of turn number 4, and he will get to the outside as Xandar Peters will see if he can make the pass, and he will with the white flag out.
Yeah, with the 1 to go, Cox gets by the 69 of Peters. Getz trying to do the same, but into turn number 3 and exiting off of turn number 4. Here comes the number 8. Derek Thorne is your second Super Late Model Positioning Heat winner. Lupton not unable, unfortunately, to get to the 00 Naima Lang, as we will have more racing for you here on Home Track Heroes in Seattle 11 coming up just after these messages. Welcome back to Home Track Heroes here on Seattle 11, presented by our friends at Gene Johnson Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Chad Fitzpatrick alongside me tonight. I'm Derek Todoroff, and this is the Tire Pros Street Stock class. Led by the number 7, sponsored by Big Block Brewing out of Renton of Mike Shimmick. The 69, sponsored by Milberg out of Monroe of Austin Camp outside of him.
The 06 is Steve Potasic out of Bothell, sponsored by Lang Autosports. And the 3 is Trent Moriarty, sponsored by Tire Pros, the shop of Arlington.
The number 85 out of Edmond, sponsored by Trademark RCS, is Jim Fody. The Green Bank native, number 27, Tiger Construction Machine, is Jerry Helm.
Our friend from the north, 39 is Stuart Harding, sponsored by Harding Motorsports. And the 44, Andrew Rivas, sponsored by Monroe O'Reilly's.
The Central Welding Supply number 22 hails from Tulalip. That's Kenny Erickson. And the Whisper Cool 14 out of Duval is Chase Jones.
The 96 of Jay Dishnu, sponsored by Ad Taxi. And the 72, Brian Thurnborough out of Arlington, sponsored by Omni Contracting Solutions. So we got 2 drivers that are substituting. Looks like the 3 of Trent Moriarty driving for the 3 of Jesse Jensen, and then the 96 driving for, I believe that would be, who normally drives 96?
It'd be Tyler Hill.
Thank you very much.
Lights go out on the pace car. This street stock race brought to you by our friends at Tire Pros. Tire Pros, the official tire dealer of Evergreen Speedway. Tire Pros is your one-stop tire retailer where honesty is the best policy, and they have a hassle-free guarantee. Tire Pros is all the national brands and offers a nationwide warranty on your tires. Go to tirepros.com. As we have all 12 drivers making their way out of turn number 4, looking to the flag stand. They will get the green. We are underway.
Mike Shimmick and Austin Camp lead the field at 12 going into turn number 1. Both of those drivers with second-gen Camaros with third-gen bodies on them. Steve Potasic looks to the inside of Camp as they go into turn number 3. Here comes the 85 of Fody as well, the 30-year grizzled veteran. Coming off of turn number 4, it will be Mike Shimmick leading lap number 1.
Shimmick poking ahead is going to give opportunity to the 06. Potasic trying to follow him through. Moriarty caught on the high side, never where you really want to be. As you see now, Potasic getting clear to the inside of Camp. Moriarty looking high, everyone stacking up, and that's going to let Steve Potasic get to the race lead as we're 3 wide for second.
3 wide, and the 69 Austin Camp is stuck in the sandwich between as their contact between all 3 drivers. They're thinking of still going 3 wide, and Fody will come off at turn number 2, looking to grab second between the 69 Austin Camp and the 85 of Fody to the inside, and the 3 of Trent Moriarty looking to try to get around both of them as well. They are all stacked up behind them as they go into turn number 1.
On the left side, you see the 3 wide battle for the second place spot. On the right, we see the in-car camera from Trent Moriarty's number 3 car. Looking back at Mike Shimmick at the moment, is Moriarty trying to find his way past Fody and Camp.
And Jim Fody with a good run off at turn number 4. He will grab that second spot, but even better run is the 3 of Trent Moriarty. He'll go right to the inside of Fody, as does the 69 of Camp. Fody hung up to the outside groove as he trying to get away from the 7 of Mike Shimmick. Shimmick trying to get underneath the 85 of Fody, but Fody will shut the door as they come off at turn number 4.
We got a great shot of that battle there from the number 3 car. Looking back, Mike Shimmick riding along inside the cabin. He's chasing down the 85 of Fody now. That is for 4th. As these are all the Brandy Hood Promotion in-car cameras. Shimmick driving this number 7. Used to be Ted Lindgren's car, if I remember correctly.
Used to be mine, too. That was my old championship street stock car. Always nice to see my old car out there doing battle and running great, running in the top 5 right now. But look who is slowly starting to catch up to our leader, the 3 of Trent Moriarty, starting to catch up to the 06 of Steve Potasic. When that battle up front was happening, it was about 10 to 15 car lengths, and his lead is starting to shrink dramatically to about 6 to 7. And we got a good battle between the 69 of Camp and the 85 of Fody for that final podium spot.
Yeah, this season's really come down to those top 2 all year long, neck and neck battling it out. When one car has trouble, the other one seems to capitalize and win it. Well, Austin Camp trying to hold off Jim Fody. Both of them, I'm sure, interested in becoming the 3rd winner this season. Hard to believe that as many races as we've had past the halfway point of the year, only 2 drivers have made it to victory lane.
Austin Camp would be searching for his first ever win, and then Jim Fody would be searching for his first win of the season as he took one home last year. As the 3 of Moriarty getting right to the back end of the 06 of Steve Potasic in the next lap or 2, the way that the 3 cars running, Potasic is going to have his hands full here trying to hold on to that lead.
Well, he'll have 20 laps to have to do it. Moriarty closing in. See how Moriarty's really just grounding it on that low line. He slides up the track a lot on the exit, but he drops down from a higher groove and then riding right along on the white line. It's very interesting to see how that contrasts with the 06's line, which is a little bit higher throughout the corner.
Yeah, and he actually opened up the door completely for the 3 of Moriarty, but he gets a really, really good run as they go into turn number 3. We'll watch and see if he'll wash up just a tad, and he actually does it. He holds it down as we have 18 laps to go this time by, and Steve Potasic hanging on for dear life. I think he's figured something out here that if he gets the 3 of Moriarty underneath them, he'll get a really good run coming off of the backstretch, and he does that same time.
Well, Moriarty may be driving the same car as Jensen, but Jensen has a great knowledge of this car. It's his 3rd season behind the wheel of that number 3. Moriarty, I believe, has hopped behind it once or twice, but nowhere near the same understanding of how this car handles as Jensen.
And going from a late model to a street stock, these cars are very heavy. They're about 300 to 400 pounds heavier than a late model. They got stock type brakes. They got stock suspension for the most part. And the brakes is a huge thing with these cars. With the late model, they tend to stop really well at these things. You have to really hit the brakes hard to get it even to slow down. And it looks like the 3 of Moriarty will look to the outside of Potasic, and Potasic will shut the door on him once again as we have 15 laps to go. We're halfway home in this one.
Well, when one line fails, it's inevitable you start to look to one of the other ones. It's dropping now low, trying to take advantage of a run in a crossover move. Moriarty not able to make the move. As you mentioned, we crossed the halfway point. Sticking to the low side, trying to make something happen. Not that time. Still Potasic out front. Moriarty in second, Camp in third.
And they both have figured out where their cars are weak at, and they're both taking advantage of that. It looks like the 3 of Moriarty does not have a good run compared to the 06 off of turn number 2. However, the 06 has a little bit of a worse run, or not as a good run as the 3 of Moriarty coming off of 4.
Yeah, it's real interesting, like you mentioned, watching the two drivers figure out where they're struggling and trying to capitalize on each other's mistakes. Riding along with Moriarty on the right side of your screen, really seeing just the differences in how they enter corners, how they proceed through the corners. Look at how Moriarty just drops to that low side and fixes himself there on the white line.
Yeah, this is definitely a good battle. And we look back now, it looks like a good battle between, well, we go back to the 06 of Potasic and the 3 of Moriarty, but they're battling back between 6th, 7th, and 8th back behind them as well. As we got all sorts of battles on this racetrack, and Potasic closes the door once again on the 3 of Moriarty as they go into turn number 3.
Moriarty tried a higher entry once again, really just trying to make a move. You see him look low, look high, slide up the track as you get 1 second of view of that highlighter yellow, the next of the neon orange on the outside of Potasic.
And this is really hard watching from the 3 of Trent Moriarty's perspective. I could tell he's trying to look to the outside, but the hard part is Potasic's running half a lane up higher in most cases, where it looks like this time Moriarty has a really good run coming into turn number 1, but he'll get really loose as he gets in the marbles off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway, and Potasic will regain the lead once again. But it is really hard the way that Potasic's line is going, that it's really hard to go to the outside of him, and it's working out just fine for him right now.
We think Potasic's tires have maybe fallen off because Moriarty is finding something here in the number 3. He's closed side by side with 06 twice now through 1 and 2. May not have gotten by, but before he wasn't even getting this far.
Yeah, if he keeps this up the next 3 or 4 laps, something will give, and Moriarty somehow might get by the 06 of Steve Potasic. As we got a little bit of lap traffic, looks like we're going to get between the 96 of Jay Disnew. We'll see what happens there when we get up to him, as we got a battle for that 6th spot between the 27 of Jerry Helm and the 14 of Chase Jones back in the field.
Yeah, well, Potasic has taken advantage of lap traffic to win one of these before over that 3 car. Moriarty looking to do the same. A pro late driver who you'll see later in the program, facing off against the street stock champion of years past. Turn number 4, 5 to go as we go back to our main camera. Full screen of your front battle.
Well, I know one person that really wants to see the white flag is, oh no, we got the 14 of Jones and the 27 of Helm going around, and that is not what those 6 of Potasic wanted to see. He wanted to see the white flag out that time by.
That he did. Caution in the air. So you've got 2 replay shots. Here's the view from Helm as you just see right around. That's got to be terrifying from his point of view. Here's the camera shot from the top, looking up as I don't know. I don't know if I can say what happened there.
All I know is that could have been catastrophic for both of them. So I'm very glad they kept it off the wall. I'm sure the two drivers that were involved did too. Didn't destroy their cars, and they'll be able to regain when they start in the back.
Yeah, you know, there's always opportunity. Sometimes cautions breed cautions. We'll see if that's the case and if Jerry Helm can benefit, as it seems that Chase Jones might have pulled off during the break. Potasic, Moriarty lead him into turn number 4, exiting off the corner, looking to the flag stand, green in the air.
And Potasic will regain the lead as they go into turn number 1. There was a little bit of contact before the green flag flew, so we'll see if that will mess up their toe at all and mess up their handling, as Moriarty fighting hard on the outside, 2x2 as they go into turn number 3. It will be 5 laps to go this time by, as Moriarty with the advantage as they go into turn number 1.
Here they go into turn 1. Contact between the 2 and the 06 spins into the dirt. He kicks it up, and contact with the Uke tire on the infield. Caution waves. So we've got 3 replays to show you. Let's see if we can make sense of this one.
Looked like, trying to go for the same place, and unfortunately that was just a hard racing incident. A little bit of contact, obviously, between the 06 of Potasic and the 3 of Moriarty, and unfortunately the 06 will go to the back.
Yeah, it's a tough break. There it is one more time. The spin. It's Potasic, the dominant car, spins from the lead. We'll finish this one right after this. Welcome back to Home Track Heroes here on Seattle 11, presented by our friends at Gene Johnson Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Alongside me tonight is Chad Fitzpatrick. I'm Derek Todoroff. We're happy to bring you all the racing actions. We start here with the 5-lap conclusion of our Tire Pros Street Stock main event. Trent Moriarty subbing in the number 3 inside, Austin Camp 69 on the outside. We are green.
And the 85 of Fody looking to see if he could possibly get around those other 2 drivers, the 7 of Mike Shimmick and the 69 of Austin Camp, side by side as they head off at turn number 2 in the back straightaway. Fody will fly into turn number 3 to get underneath the Camp. Contact made, he'll wash up, and that is exactly what the 7 of Shimmick wants to see, to get those 2 racing hard, and he could possibly keep that second place position.
Oh, you know Shimmick's loving every minute of it, waiting for a chance to just pull away. See Stuart Harding, Kenny Erickson battling back there. That is for 5th. Harding on the inside, racing royalty in that number 39.
Most definitely is. Erickson hanging out to dry on the outside. Last year's Summer Showdown Street Stock winner. Hopefully, maybe any way possible he can get 2 wins in a row, as the 3 of Trent Moriarty way out front. The battle that we're watching right now is for that final podium spot between the 85 of Jim Fody and the 69 of Austin Camp.
Yeah, it really feels like the only car who had anything for Trenton Moriarty was Steve Potasic, who is unfortunately still bogged down at the tail of the field. Camp gets loose, and that might be all she wrote for the hopes of the 69. We've got 2 to go, and when we make it out of turn number 4, that'll be the white flag. No, Fody is slow.
Something going south on Fody's car, as he had a chance of getting a podium spot, and he's going to be sitting in the pits for this one, as the number 69 Austin Camp hanging on for dear life for that final podium spot. But up front, it will be the 3 of Trent Moriarty taking home the win.
Moriarty out of 4, checkered ways for him, as a dominant performance gives him that one. Shimmick in 2nd, Camp in 3rd. We'll catch up with them all at the Angel of the Winds podium.
All right, Austin, tough race, restart with 5 to go. Talk me through when you're restarting that 3rd, 4th race. What do you have to do to bring car onto the podium?
Man, stay out of trouble. I did not like seeing that caution come out with a few laps to go. We had half a track. Then I had to fight for it, but that's what racing's about, so hope you guys enjoyed it, and we put on a good show.
And who do you want to thank for helping you get out here tonight?
Oh, man, everybody. Milberg, Ad Taxi, Central Welding, Ava Cannon Real Estate, my wife, my daughter, my spotter, Adriana, all the WQMA fans, that whole organization, and everyone who comes out here to support us. Thank you.
Let's give it a 3rd place tonight, Austin Camp. Next, let's get up 2nd place tonight, the driver of the 7, Mike Shimmick. Mike, good race tonight. Another tough battle. Problems for the 85 right at the end. When you saw that happen, what did you feel like you had to do to maybe try to catch Potasic in front of you?
Yeah, we were coming down to the end there, and
I knew the 85 wanted to get down in, so I just had to send it in there, and we banged a little bit, but that's just racing, I think, at that point in time. I feel like I was in. I mean, it's a great job by Jim. Much respect for him.
And who do you want to thank for helping you get your 7 car out tonight?
I want to thank Big Block Brewing, my daughter's here, my wife Jody in the stands. I want to thank Brandy Hood Productions, and that's about it. Thank the fans for coming out. It's hot today, and appreciate all you guys. You guys make this happen.
Driver of the 7, Mike Shimmick. All right, Trenton, tough race tonight. Again, a late race restart with 5 to go. You were battling Potasek for a ton of that race side by side. So walk me through when the caution came out after the contact out there in turn 2.
I knew that restart, I had to do something, and I've had such a year this year. I apologize for my language, but I've just had a terrible year. I've blown 3 motors and drunk the car, and I just wanted to win, and I thought I gave enough room getting into 1, and I didn't feel him hit me, but I heard he spun, and I hate racing like that, but and I want to do anything I can to get that win.
Yeah, and pulling double duty tonight, you're running the 12. Talk me through how's that car feeling, and you talk about the problems you've had earlier in the year. How good does it feel to be up here on the top spot?
It feels great. I mean, I kind of choked up getting in the car just because I've had such a terrible year. I've blown 3 motors. I blew 1 last night, and my crew on the Pro Late side has worked their butts off all year, and we haven't had the results. We haven't even finished races. I've tried 4 races this year and blown 3 motors and had a junk race car and a concussion and stuff, and this feels really nice. And I got to thank Tire Pros, Performance Machine, Joe's Racing Products, Young Inc., all the guys on the Tire Pros team, 3, Jesse for letting me drive it, Dirk for letting me drive it, Rob, Randall, all those guys, they do an amazing job.
Let's give it up one more time. Your race winner tonight, Trenton Moriarty.
It's time to tackle the legends. The Street Stocks have shown what they got. We stay on the 3/8 for our last race there tonight for the INX Legends. As we start with the Port Angeles native in the 09 on the inside, that's Cole Alton. The driver you just saw stop there on the top will return to us in just a moment. The TriMed ambulance number 37 out of Pacific, Washington is Mason Nelson.
The 15D is Davis Jacobson out of Bonnie Lake, sponsored by Evergreen Concrete Cutting, and the 19 of Jane Luce out of Issaquah.
The 2023 Legend Champion, sponsored by DeBella Roofing out of Prosser. The 66 is Gabe Sessler. He's alongside the number 20, X of Andrew Reel.
Current points leader, car number 33 of Kyle Lang out of Snohomish, sponsored by Phillips Law Firm, and the 11 is Chris Belanca, sponsored by Belanca Homes.
The Quality Quick Lube and Tune 43 out of Auburn is Dylan Wolf. He's alongside the only other Legend Champion out of Redmond, sponsored by Mazda of Everett, the 11C Chad Sinner.
Our friend from Port Angeles, the 42A of Piper Alton, and the 40 of Samantha Schwartz out of Mercer Island, sponsored by Sharp Transmission.
The McMullen Construction 51Z out of Tacoma is John Zaretsky. He's alongside late model driver number 7 of Zach Reel.
The Snohomish native, the 27 of Dakota Coachella, sponsored by Weather Right Roofing, and the 59W of Josh Wharton, sponsored by Steamboat Health and Wellness.
The Dirt Cheap Sewer 30B out of Camino Island is Braden Weger. He's alongside the LB Motorsports 13 of Jeremiah Johnson.
The 76C of Josh Valak out of Edmond, sponsored by Burgess Construction Washington Deck Builder, and the 68 of Kaylee Decker out of Duval, sponsored by Lewis and Maine.
The 10 of Chris Thompson, sponsored by Weather Right Roofing. The 1 of Marissa Sawin, sponsored by Mr. Dizzy Motorsports. We get the green. We'll talk about those other 3 in just a moment here. So we go into turn number 1. Alton going to take the early lead. Here comes Gabe Sessler to try and take it away from him.
3 wide as they come off at turn number 2. Davis Jacobson and the 19 of Jane Lewis. They're 3 wide once again as they go into turn number 3. The man on the move right now is the 66 of Gabe Sessler. As we go back to the 20 of Damian Harris out of Lake Stevens, sponsored by Flowmaster Gutters. The 98 of Aaron Flett out of Tacoma, sponsored by Kent Collision. And the 55 of Bella Luce out of Issaquah.
There we go. Happy to give recognition to all the great sponsors for each and every one of these drivers who help put on these shows. But right now, Mason Nelson out in the lead, but coming quick behind him is the defending Legend Champion. Here comes Gabe Sessler into turn number 1.
Sessler to the inside, and he'll pass with no issues at all in the 50 or the 37 of Nelson, giving a little bit of contact as they come off at turn number 2 down the back straightaway. Here comes Belanca in the 11, driving for, I believe, Nick Arnold is normally the person who drives that vehicle, and the 09 of Cole Alton hanging on for dear life for 3rd is now, here comes 11 of Belanca to the inside.
Yeah, Belanca not a regular racing the 11 car. We've seen a couple of times. I believe it's been Nick Arnold, as you mentioned, as well as Danny Arnold behind the wheel of that car.
Danny Arnold, yes, that's who it was. Got the names mixed up, but still battling for that 3rd position. The 11 of Belanca, a many-time winner out here. Normally we would see him at South Sound Speedway. Great to see him back up here and trying to get him a main win for the Summer Showdown. Part 1 for the Legends.
Yeah, behind him you see two drivers coming quick who know how to win on this course. Kyle Lang and Chad Sinner are moving their way through the field. We're 5 laps into the 30-lap main event, making their way through, and we've got a spin. Caution in the air, the 30B is involved. That's Wager. We got 2 replays. We ride along with Braden Wager. Contacting around he goes. Chris Thompson's 10 also involved.
Oh, it looks like he might have had possibly a little bit of help. We'll watch and see what happens right here. Got a little loose, and the 10 of Thompson involved as well, and we will rack them and stack them, and we'll do this again.
Yeah, we'll get them side by side. But while we do that, we want to thank Central Welding Supply, whose missions of excellent service hasn't changed since 1975. With local ownership, larger inventory, and expert staff, it all makes the difference at 27 locations. Find one near you at centralwelding.com. 25 to go. 5 down, out of turn number 4. Sessler leads them. We're back underway.
Gabe Sessler with a little bit of a jump that time. We'll watch and see what officials will have to say about that. As the 11 of Belanca coming off at turn number 2 will grab second, and the 37 of Mason Nelson in third. Here comes Chad Sinner, the 3-time Legend champion, as they go into turn number 3, and they are all stacked up behind Sinner and the 19 of Luce as they come off at turn number 4.
Lang caught between a rock and a hard place right now in that number 33, trying to find a way forward. But for now, he's stuck there on the outside. Wolf gonna get by him to the low, which finally lets the 33 drop to the bottom. He's got John Zaretsky running between the two of them. More than once has occurred. As we continue green flag racing, working our way around the 3/8 oval for the final time tonight.
That inside groove right now seems to be the faster groove as of right now, as they go into turn number 3, and the 33 of Lang trying any way possible to get around him. Dylan Wolf hanging out in that 5th place position. He's had some good runs here as well at Evergreen Speedway and South Sound Speedway. We got a huge crash off of turn number 4.
Big crash, caution in the air. Sawin's in it, Johnson's in it, Gucciala and Thompson as well. And a tire rolling its way down the front stretch. We've got 2 replays to show you.
That is never a good sign when your tire goes farther than your car.
Not at all.
Watch and see a little contact between Son and Gucciala, and unfortunately it was just at that point everyone was along for the ride.
Oh man, that is just cleaves the 10's right front off. So we take another look. Well, we got more Legend Racing coming up here on Seattle 11 Home Track Heroes right after these messages. Welcome back to Home Track Heroes here on Seattle 11, presented by our friends at Gene Johnson Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. He is Chad Fitzpatrick. I am Derek Todoroff, and we are still watching Legend Racing.
And unfortunately, it has been a little bit destructive for some, more than others, but we'll watch and see what happens here. 22 laps to go. Gabe Sessler, your defending champion, will grab the lead once again as they go into turn number 1, leading the field of about 20 cars now, as Belanca hanging tough on the inside now for second.
And we were 3 wide for a moment in the battle for 4th. Wolf has come up on top of that one. He's hunting down the 37 of Nelson. At this moment, Alton and Sinner still battling for 5th. Everyone jumping in and out of line. You saw Belanca try to make a move to the low side against the 66 of Sessler. Not going to work out.
Yeah, Sessler's going to have his hands full. Belanca on the move right now as we got the 19 of Luce getting by the 09 of Alton. That outside groove, like I said earlier, is just not, some nights it's there and some nights it is, and tonight is not one of those nights that it's there. Just Kyle Lang will make a good move to the inside, and he will maybe crack into the top 6.
Lang certainly a driver to watch. Another one, though, is a part-time driver who we haven't seen here this season. He's been in a pro late at times. This 20X of Andrew Reel has really been doing super well across the state over the course of this season.
Yeah, I believe this was his first year in Pro Late Models, and he's picked up a few top 2 finishes at Hermiston. I believe he did that maybe in State Line. Can't quote me on that, but I know for sure in Hermiston he did really, really well as they're trading Pate midway through the pack there, as the 7 of, that would be Zach Reel, his Andrew Reel's brother. Those two are making their way up through the pack.
Yeah, they're moving forward as we will now ride along with Mason Nelson in that number 37. A little bit of shine from the sun. See what they're looking at when they roll through that corner. Still chasing down Sessler and Belanca in that order. You see Andrew Reel has made it to the back bumper of Chad Sinner.
As we watch Mason Nelson going into turn 3, there's a split second there, especially that time of the day. You can't see anything. And when you're in a big field of cars like this, it can be a little nerve-wracking, especially the first couple laps when you're side-by-side with everyone. You definitely got to be on your toes when you go into turn number 3, as everyone's still chasing down the 66 of Gabe Sessler, able to get a little bit of room between the 66 of Sessler and the 11 of Belanca. A little bit of comfortable, maybe have a little bit of room to work with here, and at the same time, maybe Belanca's just saving his tires for a little bit later in the race.
Hey, both can be true. Sessler, though, knows this track very, very well. He is a champion on it, and so expect him to really find some of those cracks, those nooks and crannies that other drivers might not find. I mean, the only other person who can claim that Evergreen Speedway Legend title is the 11C of Chad Sinner.
Yeah, I believe he has 3. I think he won the first 3 Legend championships out here at Evergreen Speedway. But watch the 37 of Mason Nelson. I've only driven a Legend car once, and it was probably one of the hardest cars I've ever driven. It is very twitchy. You don't have a very long wheelbase, so it's very hard to keep these cars underneath you. As you watch the 37 of Nelson going into turn number 3, car looks a little bit tight, and you could see him putting a lot of wheel into it. And when you come off the corner, when you have that issue, the back end tends to want to swing because you have so much wheel input. And I could tell that he's having a little bit of a hard time trying to get around the 11 of Belanca.
Nelson, one of the many drivers in this field who came up through the quarter midget ranks to find his spot in the world of Legend racing. As we continue to wind down laps, this race brought to you by our friends at Evergreen Health Monroe. When your need for speed gets the best of you and you end up needing stitches or having bones set, Evergreen Health Monroe is your full-service community hospital, ready to take care of you when you need them most. As we hit 10 more remaining in this INX Legend main event, that means we're 20 down, as we're now looking out the left rear of Mason Nelson. You see the cars coming quick.
Look at all those cars. It is a trail of Legend cars. Top 6 in a breakaway for the lead. Gabe Sessler leading that train. Belanca right there on the rear bumper of Sessler, as is the 37 of Nelson, the 43 of Wolf. Can't exactly see who's behind him, the 33 of Lang, and then the 7 of Reel, as they all got to be on their toes. One thing happens in front of them, you don't have you do not have anywhere to go. So you really got to stay focused and watch ahead of you, and that's actually the 20 of Reel in the back end of there.
Racing is a game of seconds. All it takes is one bad move, one momentary hesitation to cost you everything you've worked for in an event. 5 Legend seasons here at Evergreen Speedway, 2 Legends champions. Just should demonstrate how difficult these cars are around this track.
Very difficult at this racetrack, very competitive. Yes, we've only in the last 5 years had 2 different champions, but we've probably had over 20 different main event winners.
Oh yeah.
A lot of great racing you see come out of this division. A lot of hard racing, unfortunately a lot of bad wrecks too, but that's in every division. We've seen a lot of bad wrecks in every division. So I don't want to pick on the Legends, but it happens all the time. As the 20 of Reel gets by the 43 of Wolf, we'll see if maybe he can get around the 33 of Lang, as Lang really loose off at turn number 4.
As we've got 5 to go. No, scratch that car around. It is the number 59. Oh, just having problems, it seems, maybe restarted. As we will grid them back up for a 6-lap shootout for the INX Legends. This changes everything. Belanca now stuck on the high side.
That is what, if you're Gabe Sessler, you did not want to see that caution. I believe if we went green to checkered at this point, he probably had enough of a run to go to the checkered flag and win this with no issue. But now he's got Chris Belanca right alongside him, and we're going to go green right now, and not a good jump for the 66 of Sessler, as Belanca will grab the lead. Momentarily, he'll give it back, and now Sessler side by side with Belanca off turn number 2.
Out of the corner there, neck and neck. I was going to say maybe Sessler preferred this, as it slowed up a lot of his competition on that higher side. Nonetheless, we continue forward as we jump back. Contact, Damian Harris, Dakota Gruchala involved.
They keep on going.
Yes,
we stay
they
green.
do.
5 laps to go, and look at that. The 33 of Kyle Lang will get by the 11 of Belanca as they go into turn number 3, and he is right there with the 66 of Sessler. The longest 4 laps in Gabe Sessler's career coming to you off of 4.
Pushing the envelope, trying to make it through. It is this year's points leader versus last year's points champion. Add to the fire Kyle Lang is the driver Gabe Sessler beat to win it.
As they go into turn number 3 here, Gabe Sessler picked up the 2 wins last year at the Showdown. He won the Friday Showdown, then he won the Saturday Showdown. Looking to maybe do the back-to-back this year. We'll watch and see what happens as we got the 40th Schwartz going around, and we will go yellow.
Caution in the air. We'll stack him up again. And it looks like it'll be 3 or 4 lap shootout. Here's the replay. As, looks like tagged the left rear of one of, I think, possibly Jaden Luce.
Yep, I believe that was Jaden Luce. And good job driving by everyone else. That was, you don't like having, especially at any racer, you don't want to have your driver's door looking at the whole field when you go by. So we'll try this again. 3 laps to go. Gabe Sessler, Kyle Lang. Very, very slow this time. They got to hit that start line before we get going. And they do, and we're back up and racing again, and a good start for the 66 of Sessler.
Great start for Belanca as well. He gets up into second. Here comes the 33, fighting up the high side, not able to make it happen. Mason Nelson is unfortunately going to fall back a little bit further. No, he throws it up the low side. Pressure coming from the reels, contact in the tail of the field, caution in the air.
Believe they were calling back that restart. And then, yep, it looked like they called it back. So we're going to try this again as the 66 of Sessler and the 33 of Lang. Off of turn number 4, got to go at that start line, and they do, and we're going to go green.
They stacked up a lot into that one. Lots of contact, bumper to bumper through 4. Car around, it's Bella Luce tagging the 13 of Jeremiah Johnson, and the caution will fly once again with 3 left.
Yeah, the unfortunate part is, like what you said earlier in the show, cautions breed cautions, and that is definitely prominent right now. As we'll watch and see what happens here.
Think she just might lose it.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the 13 of Jeremiah Johnson, looks like he's going to have some work to do to get ready for tomorrow night's show.
Yeah, that's a tough break for both those drivers. Johnson caught up in 2 wrecks already this race. Not what you want to see, and you gotta feel for him.
Yeah, I am definitely. I feel very bad for him. Especially they're gonna have to work all night to get that car ready for tomorrow. As it will be Sessler and Lang once again. Sound like a broken record here, and we're gonna go green one more time, maybe. I don't know yet. As we go into turn number 1, Gabe Sessler, your leader. Better start for Lang on the outside, hanging tough, and he will possibly not clear. Oh, that was very close as they go into 3.
Belanca puts the pressure on. He's got help. Oh, contact between Belanca and Nelson. That's going to let Andrew Reel and the 33 of Kyle Lang move forward. Top 3 now, Sessler, Lang, and Reel. All these drivers have won a race this season.
As they go into turn number 3, white flag this time by Kyle Lang, hanging right there with the 66 of Gabe Sessler. White flag as they run. As of right now, it seems like more of a surrender than a white flag as they go into turn number 1.
Sessler will lead him down the backstretch. Here comes Kyle Lang. The run coming for the 33. Looks low. Has space, maybe not. Contact between the 2 of them. The 66 loses it. Collects the 7. Zach Reel's in it. Chad Sinner's in it. Sessler was in the air. Caution and checkered wave. And it's Andrew Reel, Chris Belanca, your top 2 in the midst of that. Kyle Lang crosses the line in 3rd. We got a replay here of the incident.
Oh, yeah, that looked like ran out of room right there, unfortunately, and unfortunately with that wrecked a whole bunch of race cars.
That is, you were talking earlier about not wanting to wreck race cars, tear up equipment, and unfortunately that's exactly what has just happened here. Zach Reel, look at the damage to both those cars, and then even more, Wolf involved in it as well as Sinner. As a tire goes flying off, we will head to the podium where we're hearing Davis Jacobson. The 15D will be taking the 3rd place spot.
Running in the thick of it. It was a chaotic last 3 laps. We restarted twice. You just have to keep your composure through there. What is going through your mind when you're entering turn 4 and suddenly the world breaks around you?
Avoid it all.
Fair enough advice. Drove the 15D here to the 3rd place finish in front of pretty good Summer Showdown crowd. How are you feeling going into tomorrow night's 2nd race?
I'm feeling good. The car's better than normal. It's feeling good. It got faster all day.
And who helped to get it out here?
Evergreen Concrete Cutting, the truck shop, and Cascade Automotive.
Driver the number 15D, 2nd place tonight, Davis Jacobson. All right, Chris, once again, Very chaotic race. A lot happening there in just 3 laps. You were driving the 11 up front for a long time. Walk us through those early battles between you, Mason, and Gabe.
Yeah, it was tight racing for sure. You know, the car was a little looser than we expected, but gave it all we could.
You feeling pretty confident going into tomorrow?
Oh yeah, definitely. After setting track record today, I'm excited for tomorrow.
We're excited to see what you got. Who helped you get that number 11 out here?
I want to thank the Arnold family, Ricky and Danny, for letting me drive his car, JBR Racing, Kimball's Auto Body, Dan Real Excavating, and Northern Environmental.
Driver the number 11 tonight. Give it up for Chris Palanca. All right, Andrew, first question. How old are you?
14.
14 years old to battle with 2 champions and the points leader, and you are the one standing here with the checkered flag in your hand. What is it like to do that on a big night like tonight?
It feels pretty good. It's pretty crazy. I think I got really lucky. I feel bad for my brother. He got caught up in all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm just really grateful.
Now, you travel around. I've seen you at Hermiston. I've seen you at State Line. How do you feel about the Evergreen Speedway 3/8 compared to those?
It's definitely fun. It's way different than all the other tracks that I race on, and it's just super fun.
And who would you like to thank for taking it home tonight?
I'd like to thank Kenny Armstrong, Ricky Arnold, my dad, my family, Dan Real Excavating, Camus Construction, Sharps Transportation, yeah, that's it, and everybody else who helped out.
Race winner tonight, driver of the 20X, that's Andrew Real.
And now a featured presentation. Welcome back to Home Track Heroes here on Seattle 11, presented by our friends at Gene Johnson Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I am alongside Chad Fitzpatrick. I'm Derek Toneroff, and these are the Speedway Chevrolet Pro Late Models 100 laps around the 5/8 oval. Led by the Mooresville, North Carolina native, sponsored by Gene Johnson Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. The 65 is the homecoming king, Tyler Tanner. Alongside him, out of Evans, Colorado, the long haul, the Advanced Dairy Service 34 of Cody Vanderwall.
The 89 car, Donnie Wanted, out of Woodville, sponsored by Pathfinder Chassis, and the 8 of Derek Thorne, out of Bakersfield, California, sponsored by Powered Grade Inc.
The Brock Reynolds Incorporated number 12 out of Monroe is Trenton Moriarty. He's alongside the Edwards Construction number 3 out of Lake Stevens, Wild Wyatt Gardner.
The 52 of Ryan Philpott, out of Tracy, California, sponsored by Hacienda Pools, and the 19 Thomas Stanford, out of East Wenatchee, Washington, sponsored by Ackerman Construction.
The J&R Trek Runnels number 18 out of Linwood is Naima Lang. The Sheets Painting number 90 out of Kuna, Idaho is Trevor Christiani.
The 5 car, Jan Evans, out of East Wenatchee, sponsored by Tire Pros, and the 11 of J.J. Hamilton, out of Chehalis, sponsored by CNC Development.
The Kendall Auto Group number 45 out of Marysville is Nick Beecher. He's alongside the Quality Towing Snohomish native, the 32 of Chase Gardner.
The 14 of Colton Price, out of Everett, sponsored by Northwest Broiler, and the 2 of John Zaretsky, out of Tacoma, sponsored by McMullen Construction.
The DRS Trucking 69 out of Eatonville is Xander Peters. The Joe's Racing Products number 78 out of Snohomish is Haley Constance.
The 5P of Ryan Phipps, out of Hayburn, Idaho, sponsored by Western Mountain Inc. And the 72 of Jeff Robinson, out of Victoria, British Columbia, sponsored by Van Isle Coating and Sealants.
There's something special about the 5/8 oval, the big track, the biggest in the West. $15,000 on the line as they work their way out of turn number 4. Look into the flag stand, green in the air. We're underway for 100 laps.
Turn number 1, Tyler Tanner will grab the lead with Cody Vanderwall, and the 89 of Donnie Wanted top 4 breakaway with the 8 of Derek Thorne lead trailing that battle as they come off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway. 100 laps up front for them. Tyler Tanner will grab the lead going into turn number 3. Here comes Wanted, will grab that second place position as Tyler Tanner will lead lap 1 of 100.
Wannet certainly is looking for the race win this time around. Another driver with a long resume in the Northwest pokes to the inside of the homecoming king. Side by side, he's moving to Florida at the end of this year. This may be his final opportunity. New race leader, Donnie Wannet.
Donnie Wannett wasting absolutely no time. He will be your new leader off at turn number 4, 98 laps to go. Tyler Tanner running second. Third will be Derek Thorne in the 34. And fourth, that is Cody Vanderwall. And they're still trying to decide who's going to run in fifth, as now we got the 3 of Wyatt Gardner looking to the inside of Vanderwall. Here comes the 19 of Thomas Stanford looking to the outside as they go into turn number 3.
The 3 and the 19, the only 2 drivers so far this season to win on the 3/8 oval. And the 19 of Thomas Stanford, the 2-time Pro Late Showdown winner. He is still chasing down those front group as the number 3 of Wyatt Gardner wants to show off what he can do when his first Evergreen Speedway crown jewel is. Look at the gap from Donnie Wannett to Tanner.
Once again, Donnie Wannett wasting absolutely no time with his, I believe he runs a 525 motor, so there's a little bit more horsepower than some of these racers, and you got to be a little bit got to be very careful with that. They're on the 970 8-inch tire, and like I said earlier before with the super late models, this track eats up tires, and especially eats up this tire, so you got to conserve the tires, and you don't want to kill that tire early in this race, otherwise you're going to be hanging on for dear life about lap 50 to the end of the race.
And this isn't like the 200 lapper we will see from Saturday's show. Unlike that, these drivers do not change these tires unless one of them goes during this race.
Exactly, and there is no guarantee of a caution either. This is, we could possibly go caution-free this whole race, so you've got to conserve that tire as the 3 of Wyatt Gardner looks to the outside of Cody Vanderwall going into turn number 3. That is for 4th, as the 65 of Tanner may be in jeopardy here, losing that second place position, as the 8 of Derek Thorne looking to grab that as he looks to the inside, and that will be that lead or the battle for second, and Tyler will let him go right by.
Yeah, Tanner starting to bleed positions, and Thorne applying pressure to the wound as he swoops on by. Next car to come looks to be the number 3 at the tail end of your shot, Wyatt Gardner, and Thomas Stanford, 2 drivers who definitely know how to win.
And Thomas Stanford, definitely the one who has figured this racetrack out, as we got 93 laps to go, and then we go back to the 12th car of Trent Moriarty. He didn't start off the weekend that well either. He blew a motor in practice on Thursday, and he's in a borrowed motor for tonight's racing action, so definitely hoping to maybe get a podium finish for that race to help regain some of his loss.
Inside, here goes the number 3. Gardner clear. He will roll into 3rd, getting by the number 65 of Tyler Tanner. Now he's chasing down Derek Thorne and Donnie Wannett.
And as the 3 of Wyatt Gardner is chasing down the 8 of Derek Thorne, the 8 of Derek Thorne is chasing down the 89 of Donnie Wannett. That lead has shrunk dramatically from the last couple laps. It went from almost a straightaway lead to about 10 car lengths, so the 89 of Donnie Wannett in trouble here as the 8 of Derek Thorne and the 3 of Wyatt Gardner are coming in quick.
Moriarty going to the inside of Thomas Stanford. Stanford, as you mentioned, one of the best there is in Pro Late model action around this track. Moriarty in the number 12. You said it's been a bad weekend for him to start. It's been a bad season to start for the driver of the 12.
It most definitely has. Blew up a motor, I believe, opening night, and then got in a really, really bad crash the second night, and then he came back again, blew up another motor. So yeah, you're definitely right. As we have a battle for the lead, here comes the 8 of Derek Thorne to the inside of Donnie Wannett. Wannett hung out to dry on that outside and give the lead to Derek Thorne.
Yeah, Wannett going to fall back to second. The 3 car, the next one to strike at him. Wannett really seems to have dropped off the pace.
Looks like he's starting to get a little loose, and on this racetrack, once you get loose, you want to conserve that right rear tire, and if you don't conserve that, the car will just keep getting worse and worse and worse as we go. And like I said earlier, there's no guarantee of a caution, so everyone at this point is just driving as hard as they can because we don't have a break. So what you see is what you get at this point.
Thorne is through to the lead. Here comes Wyatt Gardner trying the high side. It didn't work on the 3/8, but here on the 5, well, it just might. Gardner staying side by side with Wannett as they make their way through 1. Exiting off of turn number 2, Wyatt Gardner chasing down Derek Thorne.
Yeah, he'll shoot out of a cannon off turn number 2 down the back straightaway, and he is going to tuck in right behind the 8 car Derek Thorne, wasting absolutely no time. 88 laps to go, make it 87 this time by, and Wyatt Gardner, the next lap or two, wants to lead this thing as it's a good paycheck, $15,000 to win, as we got a good battle for that 6th position between the 5 car Jan Evans and the 19 of Thomas Stanford and the 65 of Tanner. Stanford looking to the outside of Tanner. The door gets shut on him as he's got the 5 still underneath him. Great battle for 6th.
Jan Evans, if you would believe it, only been to the 5/8 oval twice, including earlier this year at the Mark Galloway shootouts. He will make his way to the inside of the number 19 of Thomas Stanford. Both those drivers, East Wenatchee Warriors, making the journey across the Cascades.
As there was a little bit of contact that last lap going into 3, so good heads-up driving by both of them for not wrecking both of their cars. As the 5 of Jan Evans has his eyes set on the 65 of Tanner to crack into the top 5. Great, that's a great car. Won many pro late model races at Wenatchee Valley Super Oval. But back up front, it is the 8 of Derek Thorne, the 3 of Wyatt Gardner, and the 89 of Donnie Wannett.
And Wannett's car has fallen back from these two leaders, as it seems, at least for now, the battle will be between the two of them.
As we got the 8 of Derek Thorne hanging on for dear life, the 3 of Wyatt Gardner is still right there with him. 84 laps to go. Anything can happen as we got a good battle now as the 12 of Moriarty starting to close in on the 89 of Wannett. That's going to be a good battle for that final podium spot for the pro late model portion of the Summer Showdown.
Out front, you have one driver who's won almost every race he started this season in the form of the number 3, and then your race leader, the 2022 Snowball Derby winner. It was his final win behind his iconic number 43 with Campbell Racing. Now he's on his own with Derek Thorne Racing, DTR, on the hood of the number 8, Thorne and Gardner. Thorne tries to cross off one of the few things he doesn't have.
As we got the 12 car of Trent Moriarty looks to the inside of Donnie Wannett. Donnie opens up the door for him. He will capitalize on that situation and give third now to Trent Moriarty. We'll watch and see while those two battle up front for the lead. Maybe he can get up there and also be a contender to win this thing.
I'm hearing from the pits there might be a problem on the Wannett car with the rear end. Saying he feels like there's something wrong with the back end down there. For now, though, we focus on Thorne and Gardner. They continue to lead the first batch of lap traffic coming up.
And it looks like they will get onto the 72. That will be Jeff Robinson. And then we'll get back and watch and see what happens here as Wyatt looks to the outside momentarily as the 8 of Derek Thorne goes down to the low side. As we'll watch and see what happens here as they go into turn number 3 and 4. Gardner just watching to see where Thorne is weak and where he is strong at this point. He's got a lot of time to go, but as those two are battling, I'm starting to notice the 12 of Moriarty is starting to close in a little bit every lap.
Yeah, Moriarty and Evans both with opportunities to close the battles rage up front. Robinson will have the low side to see Evans make his way past the 89 of Wannett. And our leaders clear the 72 of Jeff Robinson. The 5 of Evans makes his way to 4th. Donnie Wannett back to 5th.
As it looks like the good battle between 6 as well with Stanford. Kind of surprising. I thought maybe Stanford might be up a couple more positions, but we'll watch and see what happens. He's in a 604 crate motor. So a lot of times in these big races, you don't see a crate motor running up front, and then you wait until all the bigger motors start to wear out their tires, and that's when you generally see the crate motors capitalize. But Wyatt looking to the outside as they go into turn number 1. That's happened a couple times, so watch and see in the next lap or two if he can make it work.
Now you see Thorne moves up a groove to try and take that opportunity away. It's not enough. Wyatt with the run on the top. Here into turn number 3, it's a hard corner to keep your car grounded. Gardner moves up the track a little bit more. The 8 stays low, and out of 4, new race leader, it's the local Wild Wyatt Gardner.
Wyatt Gardner with a great pass on the outside, and he's starting to pull away from the 8 of Derek Thorne. Make it a car length now. Make it 2 car lengths coming off of turn number 2. Really, really good traction coming off of turn number 2 compared to all the other race cars on this track at this point.
Would not be surprised if Thorne might let him go for a little bit, bank on a caution, save some tires to try and catch up to the 3 later. So you don't know if that caution will be next lap or if it'll come at all. Moriarty and Evans closing in. The 89 of Wannett falling further back.
Yeah, while you were talking about Donnie Wannett having rear end issues, it starts to go through the racer's mind. If you start to get a lot of vibration, sometimes you may want to pull it. It's all situational, but all I know is if you don't want a rear end to flat out break on the 5/8 because there's not a lot of room for air on this racetrack.
Now we're 25 laps in. You've raced the Pro Late Model Summer Showdown before. As a driver, where's your mind at when you're sitting this far into the race?
At this point, generally where my mind is at is just keep the wheel straight, just keep it going. and just try to keep passing cars. I haven't had a lot of good luck in this race. My car tends to not perform like I want it to the last couple of years, but you know, and then this year, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but this might be the first year where we don't have a brake. The years prior we have. So I always kind of banked on having that brake to get us all stacked up again. But at this point, with no brake, you just keep on going and just use up what you got.
Now, you mentioned keeping the wheel straight. To some people who don't race cars, they might say, oh, that sounds easy. You just point the wheel down the road. We're riding along with Nema Lang right now on the right side of your screen. You can see him. It's those small movements, keeping the wheel pointed the right direction. You fight your car around this racetrack. It's not that easy to do it.
No, especially on this track. And just those slight movements, that's him trying to correct the car because it's a little bit loose coming off the corner. And you want to be smooth, smooth, smooth on this racetrack. That's how you get the speed, especially with these motors that we run that don't have a lot of horsepower. We're banking on a lot of momentum. So you got to be smooth with these race cars here on the 5/8.
Now, in previous conversations with other drivers, I've heard that 1 and 2 can handle completely differently than 3 and 4. Is that true?
Very true. They are totally different corners. You go into turn 1, it's more of a tight corner versus turn 3. Turn 3 is a little bit more swooping, and then you turn harder at a later point through turn 4, and then you got the bump coming off of 4. You see all those cars come off of 4 and you hit the bump. That will move your car up. You can also get your car loose. You got to be very careful coming off of turn 4, as we got a battle between the 34 of Vanderwall and the 90 of Christiani. I believe that's for the 8th position.
Both those drivers out of towners. We jump forward. The battle for 5th. Donnie Wannett was coming under fire from the 65 of Tyler Tanner. He's out front. See the open land in front and behind of Wyatt Gardner. He'll be approaching lap traffic in the form of J.J. Hamilton's number 11. Coming up in, I'd give it a lap or 2. We're 30 laps in with 70 to go.
As we get on to the 2 South Sound veterans, the 11 of, that will be J.J. Hamilton, and the 69 is Xandar Peters, both winners at South Sound Speedway. So nice to see different racers coming from out of town to race the Summer Showdown as well. A lot of different names that you haven't seen. A lot of these drivers have never even been on TV before, so this is kind of cool for them.
Yeah, J.J. Hamilton, actually the 2023 South Sound Super Late Model champion, racing against your current points leader right now at the Speedway Chevrolet Pro Late Model division. Speaking of them, Speedway Chevrolet, the perfect place to visit Monroe for your customized trucks, lifted trucks, work trucks, and Speedway Chevrolet can locate any truck that fits you best. Speedway Chevrolet and RV Center here in Monroe, the official sponsors of our Pro Late Model class. And of course, that means this 100-lap feature event.
As Wyatt Gardner will get by 2 more lap cars, and we see Jeff Robin. Actually, that's the 2 of John Zaretsky pulling in the pits. Something going sour on the 2 car after making his late model debut. I believe it's been about 6 years since we've seen John Zaretsky in a late model. Great to see him back out.
Was a brand new late model too.
Oh, that hurts. But I know Zaretsky, he'll get all the bugs figured out, and we'll see him out more this year. As a little bit of a tight pack between the 2 lap cars. They are side by side in front of our leaders, and we'll watch and see if maybe the 12 car Moriarty will be able to capitalize. Might have to make it 3 wide as the Peters and Hamilton side by side.
Ooh, you can see the nerves and just the way that each one of these drivers is taking this, and he's gonna split him. Derek Thorne goes into the middle as, something coming off the back of the 69. Same time, but splitting the difference. Derek Thorne makes his way through the lap traffic, holds on to the position as Trenton Moriarty and Jan Evans are coming for it.
That was definitely a tricky move that you had to make with the lap cars. You know, Derek Thorne, a lot of these drivers have never raced with each other, and when you start to race with other racers throughout the years, you can kind of tell what they're going to do. But at this race here, most of the racers haven't raced with each other, so you're kind of trying to feel out how each racer races or how you might have to lap them as well. And that was definitely a good move by the 8 car of Thorne, because if he wasn't going to do anything about that, I believe the 12 car Moriarty would have capitalized and would have gone by him.
And I think in this next segment, you and I can talk a little bit more about this, but another piece of it is regional. Regions of racing have different cultures revolving around how you pass, how you handle things. That can change too. And so when you have a lot of Washington natives like Moriarty, like Evans, racing against someone like Thorne, who not only is a Bakersfield, California native, but also used to racing in the Southwest and down in the Southeast, you have a bit of a culture clash in the way these drivers race each other, too.
Oh, yes, very much so. And we'll get more on this in the next couple segments, but yeah, it's definitely a different way of racing when you go from the Northwest to somewhere like Pensacola, Florida for the Snowball Derby.
Yeah, as Thorne gets underneath Phil Pott, driver the number 52, another California native, and to the outside of our Canadian racer tonight, and that is 72 Robinson going down another one to our race leaders. 62 laps to go, make it 61 as Gardner crosses the line. We will continue on with our 100-lap main event. Cars spreading out, action getting tighter as lap traffic plays a much bigger role. More to come here on Seattle 11 Home Track Heroes right after this. Welcome back to Home Track Heroes here on Seattle 11. We are rejoining here into the Pro Late Model 100 lapper here on the 5/8 at the Tire Pros Summer Showdown. It's been a very good race so far. The field is spread out. We've stayed green for 40 laps, knocking on the desk in front of me. As you know, that's a rarity.
It's very rare for any race to begin with, but especially the bigger ones. So far this year, the bigger late model races in the Northwest tend to have been a demo derby. And so far, great to see. And I don't want to jinx anybody right now, but in years prior, this race has been a demo derby as well. So we're starting off on a good foot right now.
Yeah, Home Track Heroes, as always, presented by our friends at Gene Johnson Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. As we follow along with the number 12 of Trenton Moriarty, we talked about it a little last segment. It's been a rough season for him so far this year. He's lost one race car and 3 engines, 2 of which on the 5/8. The persistence is something you have to admire.
I definitely do, because if that was me, I would probably just say, I think I'm done. Financially and emotionally.
Fate has told me something.
Yes.
I think it is time I listen.
Yeah, as backup for, actually we are looking back now to the 8 of Derek Thorne, getting really loose off of turn number 4. Saw that bobble there. And you want to start to realize what these drivers, we have not gone yellow. These tires are hot. They're getting worn out. So we're going to start to see more cars starting to bobble coming off of the corners because they're just running their tires as hard as they can.
And watch for more and more to start sliding further and further up in the corners. The apex of the corner no longer able to ground it there on that low white line. They're going to start to move up into that middle groove. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see them even cross over in between that second and third white dotted line you see here from our turn 2 camera. It's from that camera you can see Nema Lang and Thomas Stanford chasing down the homecoming king, the 65 of Tyler Tanner. We ride along with Nema Lang on the right side of your screen.
Nema Lang, a many-time winner on the 5/8, a many-time champion. In fact, it's been 20 years since he won his first ever championship out here at Evergreen Speedway in the NASCAR Bomber Division. And since then, he's picked up multiple championships in the Super Late and Pro Late Model win, or championships, I should say. And he is still chasing down a Summer Showdown win. He was oh so close to the inaugural Summer Showdown, and he lost it on the last lap.
3 turns away that year, and I'm sure there's nothing that the driver of the number 18 wants more than to put his name on that list. Nema Lang has 9 track championships, 8 of which have come behind the wheel of the premier class here at Evergreen in a late model, and just so close, so many times. Talk to Nema, you can hear him talk about he wants this one.
He definitely does. This is one that has, he has, multiple Fall Classic wins too to his name in the Pro Late and the Super Late, and that's like a Daytona 500 in the Northwest. So yeah, when he wants to win this one, he really means it because he's practically won almost everything else that Evergreen Speedway has to offer.
By sharp contrast, the driver in front of him is Thomas Stanford. Stanford has 5 wins all time at Evergreen Speedway. 3 of them come on the 5/8, including his first ever win back in 2022 was in this very race, the Summer Showdown.
That's very impressive. There's not a lot of drivers that could say that they've won their first ever late model race on the 5/8. The only other person that I could ever say that did that was actually my dad when he raced Super Stocks. He actually won the inaugural Super Stock race on the 5/8 under the lights back in 1991. But other than that, I don't know of many other drivers that have done that since then.
And Stanford found his rhythm that year, in fact contended with Nema Lang for the title. Fell just short in a battle that came down to the final race. And, you know, he came back the next year in 2023, won the Pro Late race for the Mark Galloway Shootout, and then won the Pro Late race for the 2023 Summer Showdown again. He's trying to be a 3-in-a-row winner for this race right now, perhaps saving tires, but as you mentioned, running a crate motor.
Yeah, well, running that crate motor now is generally when you would see Thomas Stanford, someone like Jan Evans, I believe he has a crate motor that he is running. We're halfway through this one, through this 100-lapper, and this is when you would start to see those crate motors slowly start working their way up through the pace as the drivers with the bigger motors are starting to wear out their tires. And this is when you are someone like Thomas Stanford, the 5 of Evans, you want to see a caution to bunch everyone up together, and you might have a contention to win this.
This is also where you really start to see how the different combos of these cars, how they handle and set up these machines, whether it be different engine combos, different cambers, I believe is the term.
Yep, everyone has different camber. Everyone has different geometry. Every car's different.
And just that wide range of setups. And if you're looking for a wide range of tractors, well, head on down to our friends at Town & Country Tractors. You can find that wide range of tractors, mowers, and power equipment for residential lawn care to commercial farming. Friends at Town & Country Tractor bringing you this segment of Home Track Heroes. But again, it is still that wide range. The setups change so much, and just, I've heard that smallest adjustments can have the biggest ramifications on your race.
Most definitely with these race cars. As the technology progresses with these cars, you almost have to be an engineer to figure out a late model. It's a little bit, most cars run bump stops. I'm sure out of the 20 cars in this field, everyone's on bump stops. If you are 16th off, that could make or break your whole day. That's how close you have to be on these cars. And with the 5/8, it is very, very hard to figure out the 5/8. Some people get it. I mean, 19 of Thomas Stanford figured it out. He won 2 in a row. Not a lot of drivers. I mean, there's been multiple drivers that have been racing for years out here, and it's hard to even get a top 5 for them. So it's a racer's track as well. You got to be very careful on this track, and you just have to work your way around it, maneuver it the best way you can.
Now, you mentioned bump stops. For those who are, like me, a little less technically inclined to the racing side of things, what is a bump stop?
Well, essentially, it's just the way to keep your car on the racetrack. It makes it, going from a street stock to a late model, it is like you're driving a car with no springs. I mean, you feel every single bump, and to me, I never understood bump stops until I finally actually started looking into it my first year of pro late and super late models. And I don't want to give away too much, but it's all I could say is you just got to be very careful with bump stops on this. It's just a way to get your car around the racetrack through the corners.
All right, good to know. It's one of the best parts of having you on the show is getting to hear that driver's insight and understand some of those technical terms a little bit more.
All I'm going to say is if they ever say we can't do bump stops, I'm sure the racers would throw whoever said that a parade, because it would save everyone a lot of time on their race cars if we went back to conventional setups.
Good to know. Now, you and I alluded to this in our last segment. We're going to talk about it now. The culture difference of racing across the United States and how that affects the different drivers here in the field.
Yes, so you mentioned someone like Derek Thorne from California, if I remember right. That is, and when you compare somewhere like California to the Northwest, or even Florida, Georgia, the Northwest, we're just out here in this little area thousands of miles away, and they're impressed by what we do out here from being so far away from NASCAR. It's incredible what we get to do out here.
Oh, this is something special. I mean, to me, this is a jewel sitting, a diamond in the rough, sitting in a place where you wouldn't expect it. Racing isn't all the rage here. I grew up a race fan, and I remember trying to talk to some of my friends about, oh, here's what Kevin Harvick did in the NASCAR race the other day. And they'd stare at me and ask, who is that? I don't know who Kevin Harvick is. Well, racing more ingrained in the culture of the Southeast.
and they take it, you know, all said and done for racers, racing is a hobby. It's just something that we all love to do. It's our passion. But down south, when you go to somewhere like Pensacola, Florida, and the Snowball Derby, it's a lot of these drivers, it's their full-time job. And I'm not saying the racers in the Northwest don't take it seriously, but we have a job during the week, and these racers don't. I mean, they're down south. I mean, this is how they're going to eat for the rest of the week, depending on how they finish. So they got to be very aggressive without trying to wreck their car or someone else's, because it's going to come out of their pocketbook.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge piece of it. I come from a more figure eight background, so I can talk to the culture difference of somewhere like here versus somewhere like Indianapolis, where here there's a lot of contact. There's that bumping, that rubbing and racing sort of aspect to it, while in Indianapolis, they're outlaw figure eight still, but there's less contact. They give each other more of a wide berth. They dart left and right through the intersection. There's a lot less of that braking that you see in some of our races. And, you know, it was really interesting to see how just geography played a role in how different drivers treated something as simple as a corner. How you treat the car in front of you, the move you are allowed to pull, so to speak.
Exactly, and it's even interesting in Washington State, you know, we have quite a few tracks in the Northwest, and how different each racer races at each track too. It's very different when you go over, you race at Evergreen Speedway on the 3/8 versus the 5/8. It's different from when you go from Evergreen Speedway to Wenatchee Valley Super Oval. Very small race, tight quarter-mile racetrack. Then you go to Tri-City Raceway, a larger half-mile tri-oval where you want to be very careful. It's a very, very fast track. Then you go somewhere like Hermiston, where it's pretty much it's a 3/8 with a very, very old asphalt. So it's just interesting, the cultures between even the tracks throughout the Northwest.
Yeah, you've seen on your screen Wyatt Gardner pick his way through the field. You're also seeing, we mentioned this last segment as well, as those tires wear more, they slide further up the racetrack. And as this lap traffic continues, look who's reeling him in. Derek Thorne, Trenton Moriarty are starting to close the gap. We ride along with Jan Evans on the back and almost into Nick Beecher in turn number 1. He'll clear Beecher and Hamilton on the exit. Start chasing down your top 3, but real close call for Jan Evans.
Yeah, that could have been disastrous for multiple cars right there. As you see the 34 Cody Vanderwall really loose coming off the corner, kind of going back to my point of you want to keep your car underneath you on this racetrack, as you do see the 8 car of Derek Thorne slowly starting to catch in on the 3 car Wyatt Gardner. And it's interesting to see how every driver is trying to manipulate their way through lap traffic as well. Some drivers choose to want to get past on the inside. Some drivers want to choose to get past on the outside. Philpott lets the drivers go on the inside, where Vanderwall let him go by on the outside.
Step by step, lap by lap, it all makes a difference in the end. And you talked about how these drivers let others go by. A piece of that is also where they're getting passed. For some, the better line is to let them go on the high side for the other drivers. If you're on the front stretch or the back stretch, for example, if you drop to the inside, they can get by you, keep that line they prefer. In the corner, you want to be higher up the track, that way you're out of their way, because if you're on the low, you're cutting off a lot of different angles.
Correct, and a lot of times it is to the racer's preference as well. Whoever's getting lapped, if you do give them the outside or the inside, the officials do tell the racers that are getting lapped, just pick a lane and stay there. So then the person that is getting lapped doesn't need to focus on either staying higher or going low. Just stay where you're at, so then you don't hinder the leader.
Through these corners, we get a great shot of that beautiful number 12 on the back of Trenton Moriarty, and what that means is Jan Evans is coming for 3rd and a podium spot in that iconic, I would go as far to call it the Evans blue on the number 5, chasing down the highlighter yellow on the number 12.
Yeah, 2 definitely beautiful looking race cars. 2nd generation drivers. Tom Moriarty, Trenton's dad, many-time champion. I believe he's a 10-time champion out here. And then, of course, you got Garrett Evans, the father to Jan Evans, a multiple NASCAR Northwest Tour champion, many fall classics, many wins at Wenatchee Valley Super Oval. So both of the families alone have multiple championships throughout the Northwest.
Yeah, 9-time champion here at Evergreen Speedway. Tom Moriarty was mostly in our mini stock class, but eventually into our supers, where he found great success. As you see the driver of the 12 continuing to hold off the driver of the 5.
As this will work out in Jan's favor, if we stay green, and if he is driving a crate motor versus what Trent Moriarty is running, I believe he's running a Ford crate, has a little bit more horsepower than a 604 crate. As the race goes on, Jan shouldn't be wearing out his tires compared to someone like Trent Moriarty, so this might work out in his favor if we stay green. However, if the yellow does come out, it could also work in his favor too, because his tires are in better shape than the 12 car of Moriarty's.
It's all a game.
It definitely is. The 5/8 is definitely a game between, we got so many different race car packages, motor packages, and like what we were saying earlier about the cultures, a lot of these drivers have never been on the 5/8 before, so they want to be a little bit careful. A lot of these tracks in the Northwest do not have concrete all the way around them when you're going 120 miles an hour, so they're going to have that in the back of their mind as well. Evergreen Speedway on the 3/8 we're lucky. Somewhere like Tri-Cities, you've got some room for error, and somewhere like Hermiston as well, where you're not surrounded by concrete all the way around you. So I think a lot of those racers put that into perspective when they're on this racetrack.
Yeah, there is a limit to your high side.
Yes.
There's no grass, there's no dipping the tires off. It is the wall.
It is wall, and it is right there, and yeah, it hurts. But off of turn 4, it looks like that's Donnie Wannett that they're getting around. He's, like you said earlier in this race, that he's been having some rear end issues, so it looks like it's not as bad as maybe he was thinking, because he is still out there, and maybe the vibration or whatever he was feeling that is indicating the rear end is going out has maybe subsided a little bit.
You would hope so. I mean, we don't want a broken car on the track, but whatever it is, Wannett's experienced enough. I'm confident. He's confident in that number 89 car as we continue to tick down the laps. Under a quarter to go. It's Trent Moriarty running in 3rd. He's a past champion in the super late model division. I know he was very interested in picking up a big win.
Oh yeah, yep. Most of these drivers out here anticipating that $15,000 check. All I know is if I'm Wyatt Gardner, I'm wanting that white flag to be flown right now. I've led a race like this where I've gone almost 125 laps leading, and I'm waiting for that white flag to come out. Even if it's right after I take the lead, I don't care. I just want the race to end. Being up front, leading like that, kind of gets on you mentally, because now you're starting to work on, or you're starting to think, oh gosh, is my car not running right? You're hearing every little single thing on your race car. You're hoping that everyone behind you is not going to, spin or wreck, so you don't have to be bunched up again. So, like I said, when you're Wyatt Gardner, you're just hoping that white flag comes out and he does not see a yellow.
Yeah, and I mean, if he does, you line up with a champion behind you and a snowball derby winner on your outside. Derek Thorne's story with the Summer Showdown has been a tumultuous one. He's been the fast qualifier a couple of times. He's shown off just how great that car can be over the years. Had so many chances, and each time it's come up short. 2 years ago in this very event, it was him and Tyler Tanner battling for the win side by side in turn number 1 with 3 to go. They drifted up the track a little bit, and Thomas Stanford slid right underneath them, drove to the front, took the checkered, and won it. And you don't want that to happen again if you're Thorne.
No, and I'm sure that's been in the back of his mind while he's been racing here. He's in position for it right now.
As we have 18 to go, we will conclude this Pro Late Model 100 lapper here at Evergreen Speedway on Home Track Heroes here on Seattle 11, coming up right after the break. You rejoin us here on Home Track Heroes here on Seattle 11, presented by our friends at Gene Johnson Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric. 17 more trips around the 5/8 oval, where once it was 100, that clock has ticked down and down and down. Wyatt Gardner has led a majority of this race. Derek Thorne in pursuit. Trent Moriarty in 3rd. Then it's the 5 of Jan Evans, 65 of Tyler Tanner.
And this has been a very, very rare race for some. Even most races like this do not go green to checkered. So, they got 16 laps to go. We could maybe see a first ever Pro Late Model Showdown go green to checker. We may not. Things can happen. But at this point, the drivers got to be a little fatigued right now. This is a lot of racing to get through in a very short time. A lot of people sitting at home, this takes a lot of effort on your body to get through this. So when you've had no break, this is big on them.
Oh yeah, and that track is hot, that car is hot, but if you're hot, call our friends at Gene Johnson Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. That's the name you can trust since 1976 for quality service and peace of mind. Visit them today at GeneJohnsonServices.com. As they say, we're on it.
Good battle for that second place position as Trent Moriarty slowly starting to catch the 8-car Derek Thorne. And while you're Wyatt Gardner, you look up in your mirror and you wonder where everyone went. All he's looking at is all the lap cars in between him and Derek Thorne, which is exactly what he wants to see. And that will maybe make even bigger gap as we go through, as we have now 12 laps to go.
I've talked to some people when they're leading these big races, and you wonder, what is it like looking in the rearview mirror and seeing Derek Thorne or Trent Moriarty or a gap behind you? And the answer I typically get is, I don't look. There's a certain degree of fear almost. You don't want to look behind you, start focusing on who's behind you and not what's in front of you, from what I've heard.
Very true. I tend to not look behind me anyway. I tend to just look forward. I have 2 mirrors just in case if for any reason something happens to my radios and it's a backup to where I can keep on racing. But other than that, I hate looking in the mirror. It just stresses me out when you see people behind you chasing you down. As we are riding along with the 12-car Trent Moriarty, and you saw the 8 of Derek Thorne get really loose there off of 4, and that's going to scrub a little bit of speed for Thorne, and that'll maybe make it so the 12 of Moriarty can capitalize on that.
I would argue he also had a bad entry there into turn number 1, dipping down onto the lower lane. Some cars can handle that median very well. Others, though, you'll bottom out. You'll fly up the track. We've seen that cost car count before. We've seen it collect a few on restarts. It's a dangerous, dangerous area. And if you're Trent Moriarty, you're loving the fact that Thorne's starting to drift down there because it means he's getting desperate to hold the low line, which means he's not sure he can stop you.
Yeah, Moriarty is right there. He will not go away with the 8 of Derek Thorne. He might have to look to the outside. Thorne is protecting the inside, and that's why the 12 of Moriarty was able to get to him quite rapidly, because he's scrubbing that speed, so he's going to have to make Moriarty go to the outside of him. He's in defense mode. Once you get into defense mode, you sometimes start to lose your marks from where you normally do, and that's starting to cost him a little bit. But as you see Thorne not in defense mode now, he's actually starting to pull away a little bit from the 12 of Moriarty, and while those two are battling, the 5-car of Evans is starting to get in this battle as well.
Perhaps a sort of realization that defense mode doesn't work if you're trying to hold off some of these drivers. Sometimes that's not the method to go. You have to try and beat them at the game, push the car further than theirs. And defense, just sometimes the best defense is a good offense.
Exactly, and you're starting to see the 8 of Thorne again. I don't know if he's in defense mode now, but he threw it into turn 1 pretty hard, and that back end went around, and he was able to save it. But that you got to be careful with only 7 laps to go. 15,000 on the line. I don't know how much pays for second, but I know it's a good payday between the top 5. As we got a caution out. We'll watch and see what happens here.
Car around. Can't see who that is. There it is. It is Ryan Phipps in the 5P. Has spun down the backstretch. We got 2 replays of this one. As he pulls down the access road, heading to the pits. Here's the view from Nema Lang. See Phipps just lose it out of turn number 2.
Yeah, it looked like just got a little loose coming off of 2, and luckily for him, he really didn't hit anything. He is one of the rare people that could say when you spin out on the 5/8, you don't run into something. So that was a very close call for him.
Well, you mentioned, the walled-in nature of the 5/8. He spun in one of the few areas. There's no inside wall. He spun down low. That way, he just avoided that contact with the top 2.
And I'm sure he is counting his blessings for where he spun out, because that did not wreck anything for him. As now we only have 8 laps to go, and it is Wyatt Gardner and the 8 of Derek Thorne.
And we're all suddenly dead even. 8 laps to go. See Gardner, Thorne side by side, waiting for the other to go, waiting for the chance. There they are. They got past the cone. We're green. We're underway.
And a good start for Wyatt Gardner, and a great start for the 12 of Moriarty as he sent the 8 of Derek Thorne way up high, as Moriarty was able to capitalize that as they come off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway. A good run for Thorne. He will shut the door on Moriarty as they go into turn 3.
Run up the top is quick. Here comes the 5 of Evans attempting to do the very same thing. Thorne looking around on the back of the 3 of Wyatt Gardner. They come across the line, 7 more.
Evans to the high side of the 12 of Moriarty, and a great run off of turn number 2. Give third to Evans, as Evans able to capitalize that pass on the outside. We'll watch and see if he has anything for the 8 of Derek Thorne as they all go scrambling into turn number 3. Their cars are hot, the tires are junk at this point. They're very low on fuel, so their rear weight is gone. And it is, at this point, whoever can get past the start-finish line first, it is a battle of the fittest.
Everyone stacked together now. Suddenly, where once everyone was spread out, cars seconds from one another. You're all clumped again, all fighting for the same ground as they roll through 3 and 4. When they come to the start-finish line, it's 5 more trips. 95 laps into this one.
Wyatt Gardner looking for his biggest payday ever, $15,000 to win. And here comes Moriarty to the inside of Evans once again. Going through all those bumps, scrubs a little bit of speed off at turn number 2. A big wobble by the 5 of Evans, and we'll see if Moriarty can bring it into turn 3. Not enough, but wobble again out of Evans going into 3. Opens up the door, and we'll see if Moriarty can make it work again. No, he can't.
Almost looked like Evans second-guessed the block he was throwing down the backstretch. The 5 remains in third. Moriarty not letting up on pressure. Look out, the homecoming king, the 65. Tanner also in the mix.
Tanner trying to get in the mix as well to gain that final podium spot. He won the Galloway the last time we were here, as Evans hanging on for dear life. You could see the back end trying to go around, but Moriarty trying to do everything possible to get around him without spinning, and it has been definitely a good, clean battle to this point.
3 left in this one. Moriarty looking low. The 5 of Evans holding the high middle groove. Moriarty falls back in line, still chasing the number 5. Up front, Gardner, Thorne pulling away. Evans holding on, and you can see how both these drivers fighting with their car.
Hanging on for dear life for both of them. 2 laps to go for Wyatt Gardner. Derek Thorne looking to possibly catch up to the 3 of Wyatt Gardner as they went by the start-finish line, but it is a battle and a half for that last podium spot. Good payday for all of these drivers as they come off at turn number 2 down the back straightaway. It is the white flag this time by for Wyatt Gardner.
Wyatt Gardner, Derek Thorne, Jan Evans. It's an impressive top 3, but at the end of the day, it's only $15,000 for one of the winners. White in the air for Wyatt Gardner.
This by far will be Wyatt Gardner's longest race or longest lap in his racing career, as he's being chased down by Derek Thorne as they come off at turn number 2 down the back straightaway. It'll be definitely a good battle for third, but take it away, Derek.
It's been a hard year for Wyatt Gardner. This year he's been racing for a cause, though, and when he exits out of 4, comes to the start-finish line, checkered in the air, Wild Wyatt Gardner wins the Pro Late Model 100.
In a great battle for that third spot. They were side by side as they came to the start-finish line. We'll watch and see what happens here, but it was Jan Evans that did win the battle to the line over Moriarty.
As it looks like we do have that replay. Derek Thorne comes home second. Here is the battle for third. Rolling out of turn number 4. Moriarty on the low, Evans on the high. A little bit of contact between them. Let's get another shot of that contact here in slow motion. Contact between them. Down the front stretch, you see them both sideways. Moriarty saves the car. We'll visit everyone on your top 3 down at the Angel of the Winds podium.
I know it was a complicated pre-race for you, back and forth a couple of times on where you thought the car was, how good you really thought you could run, and then it came to life here on the 5/8 oval during the race. Walk us through those first 92 as you're charging through the field, battling with Trenton Moriarty.
I know when I ran the Galloway here, we ran out of time, and I just knew I had to be aggressive and pass when I could, and the guys gave me a good long car, and we were just really battling in the end, driving as hard as we could.
Now you're one of the drivers, all 3 of you actually pulling the double. How confident you feeling going into tomorrow night's 200?
I'm feeling good. I got a good team behind me, and just excited to get after it.
Who would you like to thank for taking the 5 to third place?
I'd like to thank Tire Pros. Everybody get your tires at Tire Pros. I'd also like to thank Angelo Puglioli, Foam and Chrome Auto Dome, RCR, Leonard Evans Used Car Superstore, Rock Drywall, and I think that's it.
Driver the number 5.
And Sue and Kelly Coleshaw.
Driver the number 5. He's your third place finisher. That's Jan Evans. Well, Mr. Thorne, it came down to the wire. 8-lap shootout. You and Wyatt. What more do you think you needed to get to him?
Well, he had the best car by far, and he played games on last restart and pushed me up into marbles coming to the green and then kind of jackrabbit it. So I don't know what he was trying to pull there. But at the end of the day, we were here to survive. We didn't even intend to race this morning. So to put our car together and have the thing be as good as it was there, the short run stuff was where our speed was at. This isn't the ideal package for pro lates, but we made it work, and just really proud of these guys. I only got a couple of guys, got Travis Thorne, Brandon Reel, Marty Mello, and Misty Mello. These guys have really been our crew for the weekend. It's kind of been low-key, but they've done a great job getting us here.
And you take this same car to the Super Track tomorrow. You feeling pretty good about this number 8?
You just got to survive. The first 100 laps is a test session. This is obviously a lot longer green than normally seen, but this is such a different tire, so we have a bunch of stuff to throw at this car to change for tomorrow, but I think the first 100 laps is a good way to tell where you're at, and the last 100 to make the final adjustments to make the best.
I know you got a lot of people back there helping you out. Who are they?
Oh, a lot of them. All you fans and the Hobbs family. This is an amazing facility, and it's always awesome coming up here to the Northwest and racing in front of you fans. But we have some great sponsors: Fire Suppression Solutions, Pepper Jack Kennels, Power Grade Incorporated, Fury Chassis. These guys all make it possible.
Driver the number 8, second place tonight, Derek Thorne. Questions first, then I'll hand you what I know you're waiting for. Wyatt, you heard what Thorne said. One of the best cars in this race. You got up front, you didn't look back. What is it like to win Summer Showdown weekend?
Oh, it's fantastic. I got to apologize to him. I mean, 8-7 to go, and one of the best guys in the West Coast. I had to do something to try and make sure I got a good jump, and sorry if I upset him, but we had a really good car. I mean, we knew from when we unloaded that we were going to be the car to beat, and just I can't thank my guys enough. They're the real champions. I get to hold the steering wheel every week, and they haven't fired me yet, so I must be doing something right.
You have the chance to do something that no one has done before and no one has been able to do in 3 years. How confident are you can sweep Showdown weekend?
I'd feel a lot more confident if we were running that black car tomorrow, but we're not. And Wade, the guys, and I are going to throw the kitchen sink at that Super and see if we can't find a little bit of speed. But it's definitely not as good as this car. So we're going to do our best, but we come out of here with 2 clean race cars, and we at least got 15 grand. So I guess that's a good start.
You brought some good equipment. You brought some good team. Who else helped you do this?
Yeah, All-Ply Roofing for jumping on this weekend, Pacific Lighting Systems, Edwards Construction, Pump Industries, DeYoung Inc., Brush Printing, Green White Checkered Media, Elevate Media for the awesome Fast Time Award. Small businesses like that support local racing are always great. And like I said again, my guys are they bust their butts 7 days a week and finally have something to show for it.
Well, I've got one more thing to give you. Wyatt, you are $15,000 richer. And this is yours to sign. He is the driver of the number 3, and he is your Showdown Pro Late winner, Wyatt Gardner!
What a show, what a show, what a show. Pro Late models for 100 laps, you don't see that too often. Chad, it's been great having you here.
Thank you for having me. Great to be back.
Oh, yeah. We would not miss this for the world. You'll be back for our next show, which will be the Tire Pro Summer Showdown Part 2, night number 2, presented by Central Welding Supply. Super late models for 200 laps. Mini stocks, legends, and vintage modifieds. That's sure to be a great one. Next time you can see us out at Evergreen Speedway, though, that's War of the Wings with the Granite Super Sprint Car Series, Winged Sprints, Legends, Focus Midgets, Can-Am Sprints, and Stinger 8s. That one will be amazing. I know there's some big names coming up from the sprint car world to try their luck on the 3/8 oval. A lot of great people go into making this show what it is. Thank you to Brandy Hood Promotions for the in-car footage, Derek and Griffin back behind, helping produce this all, and all of our camera crew on behalf of Highwood Promotions. We'll see you next time here on Home Track Heroes.
Thanks for watching Evergreen Speedway's Home Track Heroes on Seattle 11. Join us next week for more great racing from Evergreen Speedway.